We always try to end the season with a bang, and this episode really just helps to set the record straight. Those of you that have been following us from the beginning and have heard all our episodes know how involved we have been with other podcasts in the past. And recently, there's been a bit of an elephant in the room with the dropping of remaining episodes for a certain podcast our team, mainly Jane, used to be extremely involved with. She was centric to it, actually. The silence from our camp has been on purpose, and in the interest of speaking our truth, we wanted to let you all know the full story of what happened. And just as a side note, during this recording, we do mention the gathering that just happened in Concord, New Hampshire as coming up because of when this was recorded. So here's what really happened.
Welcome to Invisible Tears today. I was 22 years old, 7 months pregnant, stabbed 27 times, and I survived a serial killer. I have said those words 1,000 times, and it never gets easier. Some days are harder than others, but every time I say it, it's a reality check that happened to me. So today, I am not going to be speaking as a podcaster. I am going to be speaking as a survivor of something very tragic that happened to me. And I want to speak to all podcasters out there because I think this is a very, very important message for you. I have trusted a lot of people since my attack. And, you know, when I tell my story, I've told my story thousands of times, it seems. I've been on a guest on different podcasts, several podcasts. I've been on TV telling my story. I've talked to newspaper reporters telling my story. It's very difficult. And when we started this podcast, my main goal was to help people. I felt like telling my story could possibly help someone out there because I struggled so hard for years and I didn't have anybody to listen to actually compare my story to theirs to help me to start healing. With telling my story, I have helped people. I have received messages that people started healing because they heard my story. That's huge. And that was my goal. We started this podcast. We started actually recording September of 2020. Shortly after we started recording, I was approached by a media company called Crawlspace Media. They wanted to do a docuseries on the Connecticut River Valley cases and wanted to know if I would play a huge part in that. I agreed because I feel the more we keep talking about unsolved cases and unsolved missing cases, the more people will call in with tips and maybe get these cases solved. Now, I'm going to make something very, very clear. I've never made a dime telling my story. I've never made a single dime telling my story. Nobody has ever paid me. Nobody has ever compensated me. If anything, doing this podcast cost us money. We do not make money off of this. I have never made a dime telling my story. So when Crawlspace Media approached me, it was supposed to be a docuseries. I agreed because a lot of people thought the Connecticut River Valley cases were solved, and it wasn't. They weren't. So I decided to be a part of this docuseries. I trusted these people. I trusted that they were good, honest, compassionate advocates for unsolved missing and murdered. We started, well, in September, the end of September, beginning of October of 2022, Crawl Space Media came to my small town with a camera crew, and we started filming for the docuseries. I have spent many hours with them between filming, um, between recording, uh, traveling. I have spent an enormous amount of hours with them because I really wanted the docuseries to be a success. And to make a long story short, the docuseries turned into a podcast, and it's called Dark Valley. Now, don't get me wrong, Jen did a wonderful job narrating it. Jen is an incredible investigative journalist. She did a wonderful job putting together Dark Valley season 1. I am in almost every single one of those episodes. Again, I never got paid a dime. Not that I expected to, but I'm just putting that out there. I never got paid a dime. I spent many, many hours with Jen recording, traveling. So had Amanda. I never was compensated for anything. But I was okay with that because Jen was getting the story out. And I was still under the impression that this podcast was going to turn into a docuseries. Now, with the docuseries, had that happened, where they did the docuseries, then there was a good possibility that I may have gotten some compensation for that. But unfortunately, the docuseries never happened. What did happen was Jen sold Dark Valley. Me just saying those words hurts so much. I trusted her. I trusted her a lot. She became friends with me. This isn't the first time this has happened to me. You know, her agenda was for financial gain. Again, not the first time this has happened. Unfortunately, survivors and families of unsolved murdered and missing, they become vulnerable to people like Jen. They believe that people like Jen are doing the right thing for all the right reasons, but yet then you see their true colors. I get that Jen needed to be compensated for, she put a lot of hours into doing Dark Valley. I get that. She should be compensated for that, but she was compensated for that. She was an employee of Crawl Space Media, and she was paid to do Dark Valley. But I feel like she sold me out because she turned around and sold it. She sold Dark Valley for money. Again, I have never made a dime telling my story. Other people have.
Did you get the opportunity to buy Dark Valley?
No. I wasn't told that Dark Valley was sold until after it was sold. And it was sold to Audio Chuck, which we were trying to get an interview and work with Audio Chuck. But since they bought Dark Valley, I've been ghosted. We've been ghosted. Invisible Tears have been ghosted. I feel so betrayed. I feel angry. And I feel so stupid again for allowing somebody to come into my life like Jen did, and just they used me. They use me big time. I wish these people would realize what they do to these people that are telling their story. They are coming to you podcasters. I am coming to you podcasters for help to get our stories out so somebody can come forward with some kind of information that could possibly break a case, that could possibly find someone that is missing, to possibly solve an unsolved case. That's what we come to you for. That's what we want. That's what we need, not to be used. And I was used. I was used big time. And I thought I was smarter than that. I thought I should have seen it. And, I sit here and I see all the red flags now. Now, don't get me wrong. I know there are a lot of podcasters out there that this is their full-time job. And, they should make money on their podcast. They put a lot of work in putting their podcast together. We know that. It's not like you just sit in front of a microphone and then boom, it hits the airwaves. It's not that simple. There's a lot that goes into doing every single episode of a podcast. So I get that they should make money. There are podcasters out there that do this full time. They should make money. But to literally sell a podcast, especially when I was in almost every single episode of the first season, and not tell me and just do it, it's almost like, I did it. I got the story. I wrote it. I sold it. It's like it didn't mean nothing to her. I bared my soul on Dark Valley. I talked about things about myself that I was open and I was honest about everything. And it's like I was hoping and I was thinking that she was being responsible with that she was being compassionate with it, that she was going to use it in a positive way. And she didn't. She sold it. She sold it. Every time I say that, it's like, oh my God, she sold my story. And it angers me. It angers me and I'm extremely hurt. So my message to podcasters is remember and please know that when someone like myself or a family member of someone that was murdered or missing in their unsolved cases, it is not easy going on your podcast and telling their story, but they have to because they want answers. They want the cases solved. And that's the only way that they feel like they can get their stories out. They have to keep talking about these stories so that people know that these are still unsolved cases and still missing people that are unsolved. But know that this isn't easy for the families at all. They're reliving everything. They are reliving everything. Take that interview and treat it with gentle gloves. Cherish it because it's not easy. Like I said, I could tell my story 1,000 times. It doesn't get any easier. But I feel like I have to. Sometimes, yeah, it sticks with me for a few days. Sometimes I get off an interview and I'm like, yeah, I nailed it. Good interview. And I'm fine. But there are some days I'm not so fine. But I do it because I'm trying to be a voice for the voiceless. I'm trying to advocate and do the right thing. So when people like me and families like that know that it's not easy. It's not easy at all. So I am truly, truly grateful that I have two very, very loyal people that I totally, totally trust, that I know have my back and that I love so much. And I would not want to do this podcast with anybody else. Drew and Amanda, you guys have my back all the time. You two are so compassionate and caring, and you so literally care about my well-being, and I'm grateful for that. I don't know what I would do without you guys.
This whole situation has been very tough for Amanda and I too, because the last thing we wanted was for Jane to feel taken advantage of or to be taken advantage of. And unfortunately, we saw the red flags way too late during that entire process of Dark Valley once it got released. Further, a little backstory: once Dark Valley Season 1 got released, we quickly contacted both Crawlspace Media, Jen directly, and even Glassbox Media, who was the media company for both Invisible Tears and Dark Valley. And all we asked them to help us out a little bit. We weren't looking for compensation or anything like that. All we were looking for was a 30-second ad spot to be dropped into the episodes. Didn't have to be every episode, but we were like, if we could get that in at least one of the early episodes, just to let people know, hey, if you do want to continue hearing Jane's story about everything that happened after the fact, if you want to hear her reactions to the information being shown on Season 1 of Dark Valley, please come over to Invisible Tears and listen to us. We thought that was a pretty simple request. We put together the 30-second ad, we sent it to Jen, and we're like, hey, can you just put this into the audio file? You can do it in a way that it does not actually take up any of the ad spots, so you as the show, Dark Valley, won't lose any ad revenue. It'll just hopefully help us out a little bit. That got turned down by both Crawlspace, Jen, Dark Valley, and also Glassbox Media. Everybody was pointing the finger at one another saying, nope, they're saying we can't do it. Nope, they're saying we can't do it. And we were just kind of stuck here with our thumbs up our asses, not being able to do anything, hearing Jane giving telling her story in a great format. And we're like, we would just want the people that are listening to also hear what Jane's gone through afterwards and the work that she is continuing to do. The advocacy rallies. We're coming up on our third one. Dark Valley and the team only came to one, and it was with their cameras. They didn't come to the second year. Is it because they realized they weren't going to be able to get any content out of it? Don't know. But that was kind of glaring as far as, are you really showing support for Jane and the other families of the Connecticut Valley serial killers? Mara Murray's family, Trish Haynes' family. Simply being there would have actually shown support, that you care about the advocacy work being done after the story is completed. We haven't really seen that at all.
No, not at all. I went and like CrimeCon. The only reason why we were invited to CrimeCon was for Dark Valley. It wasn't to promote Invisible Tears whatsoever, which I was under the impression that we were going to promote both, because Glassbox was a sponsor for CrimeCon, and everything was about Dark Valley. I did everything Dark Valley asked me to do, and we really did. We expected something in return, like some kind of recognition for Invisible Tears, and we begged, we pleaded, we did everything we could. We even did some promotion for Dark Valley on Invisible Tears.
We did a reaction episode to every single episode of Season 1 of Dark Valley, talking about the new information is coming to light. How does, Jane, how do you view this information in the new light? What better way of trying to do cross promotion than doing that?
Yeah.
And yet we got nothing from the other side.
They wanted us to do a reaction episodes to Dark Valley's episodes, But yet they weren't even announcing on Dark Valley to go to Invisible Tears to listen to our reaction episodes to Dark Valley. How messed up is that?
I was just going to say another thing to add into the piece of this too is, don't get me wrong, season 1 of Dark Valley, you both agree with this as well, that the content was amazing. It was produced amazing. It was a great podcast. However, the connections that were able to be had to compose that season in such a way, meaning access to families, access to John Philpin, the criminal profiler for the Connecticut River Valley cases. All of that was made possible because you were involved with the project, Jane. It was you. It was you reaching out to, I know you reached out to Philpin. So it was your involvement that made the families understand that this was a good, safe project. So if you weren't involved, I'm not sure that any of that content would really exist in the format that it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Would season 2 be launched right now, Jane, if you had not spoken with April?
No. You know, and I'm going to be totally honest. Jen messaged me and said season 2's out. And she said, listen to episode 18 and episode 17 or whatever. Those are the 2 episodes you're in for season 2. I haven't even, I refuse to download. I refuse to give them downloads. Not on season 2. No, not even, I just don't, I refuse. You know, I don't know how people can do stuff like that. And she knew my PTSD. She knew about, my trust issues because I had already discussed with her another person I trusted that was only friending me for financial gain. And I figured that out. She knew this stuff. And yet it's like she didn't give a shit. It's like, and she did so good at making me trust her, getting me to trust her. Man, she did good with that.
Unfortunately, they did good with all of us. And I think that's why Drew was even saying too, that like we saw the red flags too late, unfortunately. And we feel horrible that we didn't protect you in the way that we have always said and always wanted to protect you from a situation like this. In going along with what you just said too about how she accessed pieces of you, a very real piece of reaction from me that I don't think that I've ever told you. On that episode where I wasn't physically there in the field work, where you started breaking down talking about your attack and you were crying and almost screaming. Like, why? That was such a visceral, such a real, such a raw reaction. When I listened to that, I cried. And I said to myself, why in the fuck is this being recorded? If that happened when I was there, I would have shut everything down, held you, and removed you from the situation and made sure that you were okay. Yeah. Even though it made for a great moving piece in a podcast. That's the type of level of protection that I would have afforded you. That piece broke my heart.
As a producer, I was sitting there kind of cursing us, going, why the hell did we get that emotion? But then I was like, we would never have let it get to that point, because as soon as, Jane, we saw that you were in distress, it would have been, let's take a breather. Let's refocus. Jane, are you okay? Do you need to talk about this off mic to be in a good headspace?
Exactly. It's not about the content. You're the most important thing. It's not about the content, with us. So first and foremost, it always is, are you okay? And while we can't imagine going through what you've been through or being consistently put back into these situations, we never want to trigger you so much to the point where you are crying and screaming and breaking down. Ever.
Mm.
We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors. And now back to our episode.
I feel really bad because you guys were affected too. You know, the amount of time that I spent with Jen with Dark Valley podcast and Tim and Lance with the film crew, I took away from us. And I invested so much time in Dark Valley, the podcast, that so much time and energy and emotion and all that. I almost feel like I just I took away from you guys, and I took away from Invisible Tears. But I'm going to make that up. And my energy is this podcast. We are advocates, and we're going to continue to be advocates, and we're going to be stronger and stronger and stronger advocates as we go. You know, we're a voice for the voiceless. I'm never going to stop this podcast, and I'm never going to stop having people on my podcast that need to tell the story of their loved ones. And, you know, that's what we started off doing. That's what we wanted to do, was to help others. And I think we are going to get better and better and better at that. But I just want other podcasters to know, please listen to my message and know it's not easy. It's not easy telling your story, especially, you know, talking about what happened to me. It's not easy. Even though I've said it 1,000 times, it doesn't get any easier. But I feel like I have to be a voice for the voiceless. And I'm going to continue to do that. But yeah, I want you podcasters to know that it's not okay what Jen did to us. It's not okay. And I hope that you never do that to anybody. If you're in my position, you know, I hate saying it, but keep your guard up. Don't trust. If somebody just magically comes into your life and wants to be your best friend because they heard your story, it's because they have an agenda, whether it's a financial agenda or whatnot. It's because they have an agenda. And just keep your guard up, because it's not normal for people to just do that. Oh my God. My clock says 1111, and my ear is ringing like freaking crazy. I almost have to take my earmuffs off.
Go for it.
This ear is ringing so bad.
That's the side you receive message on.
Oh,
What are you thinking right now?
I'm thinking stop ringing.
I think if this hurts, stop it.
Okay.
I think
Oh my God, that was so freaking weird. Like,
but I believe it. I believe it because we're talking about
what
some
was I
real
thinking?
shit right now. We're talking about some real shit right
We
now.
are.
Right?
We are.
So
Yeah.
believe it.
I'm sorry. I couldn't ignore it. I was trying to ignore it. I was trying.
It's hard to ignore it, isn't it?
Yes.
Sometimes it hurts.
Yes, it was hurting. It was loud.
Yeah.
Loud. I think that was a sign to tell us that we are doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And we are going to continue down that road of success and helping people.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for you guys.
We're so grateful for you.
This was really hard for me to come on and talk about this.
Of course it was.
Because it was like a reality check that, you know, Jen did this to me.
Yeah.
Crawl Space Media did this to me.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people have a lot of respect for Tim and Lance and Crawl Space Media. Okay, I get it. I had a lot of respect for them too. But I guess I'll never know. Did they really give two shits about me, or was it just my story? And I'll always wonder that.
Mm-hmm.
But in a way, I really don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I really don't. Because I know that we are way better advocates than they are. And I know everything that we do it for all the right reasons.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Now, Jane, do you want to give a little bit more backstory as to how and why we got signed to Glassbox Media?
He's like, go in all the way.
When Crawl Space Media contacted me, they ended up coming with their film crew and did a bunch of filming. And we had just started Invisible Tears. Now, we didn't know what the hell we were doing. None of us. We it took us a while to actually figure out exactly what to do, how to do it, what platforms to use or whatever. And so Tim and Lance were like, "Oh, we're with a media group, Glassbox. Maybe we can get you signed on with Glassbox." So go ahead, Drew. Go ahead and tell the rest of the story.
So we did sign a contract with them with the understanding of Dark Valley and Invisible Tears are going to be a great sister podcast.
Yeah.
Kind of go hand in hand with one another. So we're like, okay, great. Let's sign up. We thought everybody had the best intentions. And then when the red flags started being raised, when we were doing simple requests, simple, can you just plug us on your show? And all the pushback and just the pointing the fingers from, the one company to the other. So we finally were like, did we only get signed to make sure that Jane was part of Dark Valley?
Yeah.
And independently from the Dark Valley team, we got that's the only reason why you guys got the contract.
Yep.
And then we actually got Glassbox to confirm this. That the only reason they signed us wasn't for Invisible Tears and what we were doing. It was just to make sure that Jane was going to be a part of the full season of Dark Valley. Yep. That's where they put their money. That's where they invested in. And we really got nothing. No cross promotion with Dark Valley, which you would think would be the ideal listener base that we would want to advertise with. We got cross promotions with other shows on the network, but not on Dark Valley. So that was just very disheartening, knowing that, well, we are now locked into this contract with a company that doesn't want us. They don't care what we do.
No.
The show, the only reason why we were signed, that show's no longer on the network.
Yeah.
They don't help us at all.
No.
They don't help us. So.
That's like Drew sent Glassbox, our media group, a poster and an email talking about the first rally that we did up in Concord. Now, Dark Valley had nothing to do with that. Absolutely nothing. They did show up and did a little bit of their filming or whatever, but they were never on any of our Zoom meetings with Julie and Shayna. They were never part of the planning. They were never part of anything. They just showed up. Drew sends the whole article and everything about the rally that we put together with Julie Murray and them guys. Glassbox goes and posts it on Glassbox website page and credits Dark Valley and never even mentions Invisible Tears. Never mentioned Invisible Tears. They credited Dark Valley podcast for that.
The second that I saw that social media hit out, I went up one side and down the other and sent messages and was like, this is not a Dark Valley production.
No.
I was like, this actually has nothing to do with them.
Had nothing to do with them.
That team may show up and support
with Dark Valley podcast. Nothing.
Yep. So they did end up changing it. After they initially posted it, they did end up changing it for us.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just everything that we did, everything good that we did in Invisible Tears. It's like they credited Dark Valley, Jen and Lance and Tim. It's like, what the heck? We have tried so hard to prove ourselves to our media group, Glassbox, and it's like they could care less. It's like they just won't give us the time of day. They have not helped us promote Invisible Tears at all. At all. And still, like Dark Valley has not been with them for over a year, and they still they still won't help us promote our podcast. I'm done being used, and it's yeah, I'm done. Gonna be a whole new Jane. But I want you to know, if you guys come on our podcast and you want to tell your story of your loved one that either was murdered or is missing and they're unsolved, I guarantee you will see so much compassion and respect and care from us, because we will never sell you out or sell your story out. We just want to help. We want to advocate for you and with you.
And going along with that, with the same respect, we'll always make sure and plug anything and everything that you're doing. We'll make sure and put your websites, your socials, if you've written a book, if you have your own podcast, we'll always make sure that all of that is plugged and is in our show notes, because it's a way to help you out.
Exactly.
Because we are advocates.
Yeah. It's funny because all the podcasts that I've been interviewed on and have been on, they've all cared about Invisible Tears. They've always plugged us. They've always, I always let us talk about Invisible Tears and how we started and all that. Dark Valley supposedly was our sister podcast. And Tim and Lance with Crawlspace Media have never tried to plug us for anything.
I think the first mention of Invisible Tears was in like episode 10 or 11 of Dark Valley during the first season. That's how late and we started contacting them before the first episode was even dropped about trying to get some sort of cross promotion, just some sort of, hey, Jane spent all of this time with you creating this show. Without her, where would the content have been? Can you help her out slightly by putting in this 30-second audio clip? We didn't think it was asking too much.
No.
We thought it was kind of easy, kind of straightforward, and pretty easy to do. Who wouldn't do that to help out somebody who's invested so much time? And then to just get the blatant no was just a slap in the goddamn face. And let's face it, the only reason why Amanda and I went down to CrimeCon was because, Jane, you were very adamant about, if I'm coming down, I want Drew and Amanda to come down as well, because I do want to talk about Invisible Tears. So we were able to go down. We did get tickets to go. And we're able to, stay with the Crawlspace team and then hang around their table and just try to talk to people. But also it was keeping an eye on Jane. It was the first time being in such a large setting of people that would recognize her. We weren't sure how the attendees were going to react and also how Jane was going to react. Yeah. So we were definitely, head was on a swivel, especially when it came down time to do the signings and the pictures with the attendees. It was keeping your head on a swivel just to make sure who was coming around. Because let's face it, Jane's killer still has not been found, and she was being advertised as being in this convention center at this time, presenting at this time. Yeah. You can sign and have a picture taken with her at this time. I was definitely going, okay, who the hell is actually coming around?
Yep. Yeah. And you did such a wonderful job, Drew.
We were your security.
You both did. Yeah.
Drew was definitely it's actually really, really funny because Drew, during that convention too, I could tell there was just like a completely different like demeanor about him too. Honestly, he was treating he was like, my objective, Jane's okay. The entire his entire focus. Knowing him so well, I can verify that was definitely his main point of focus.
Yeah. So I hope I got my message out to you podcasters. Use the content for the right reasons, the right way. And it's not easy telling your story. Not easy at all.
I know Jane and Amanda have been listening to Dark Valley, but I figured somebody of the
Oh.
team should listen to a little bit. I started to listen to the first episode of the second season. First off, it started with a plug, Jen giving to the listeners to go listen to Crime Junkies on Audio Check. As if they do need that help. That every listener of Dark Valley has never heard of Crime Junkies. Yeah. But we can obviously tell not all listeners of Dark Valley have heard of Invisible Tears. So we do appreciate, being able to take the time and do that plug. I'm sure once you were asked by Audio Truck to do that, you did it no problem. But when Jane asks, can't be done. I think that shows a lot right there. And then Jane, you were all over the first episode. You hear the introduction between you, April, and Jen. And now we know from behind the scenes that introduction would never have happened unless, Jane, you gave the okay that these were good people to work with. And this was very early on in the process before we started to see the red flags.
Oh, yeah.
And so to still hear you're such a vital part of the early part of the second season, and there's still been no reciprocation, haven't helped you out at all, haven't plugged you at all. It's just more discontent. I mean, it did send my blood pressure skyrocketing. I was fuming when I was listening to it. Just knowing how everything unfolded and why there was the delay between season 1 and season 2. And there's no mention of that.
We probably can't talk about it.
Yeah, but it's just very disheartening
Mm-hmm.
to see how this all unfolded. And we feel like shit because Jane, once again, we're kind of at square one. What to do, how to move forward.
We hope that you subscribe, follow us, listen to us, download us, wherever you listen to your podcasts. We're doing it for all the right reasons. You want to you want to tell your loved one's story. Message us. We'll have you on.
Mm-hmm.
My platform is open. We're here to help, and we're here to advocate, and we're here to be a voice for the voiceless. And we would, you're more than welcomed on our platform to be a voice for your loved one.
Or for yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for listening to Invisible Tears. Until next time.
Thank you all so much for listening to this episode of Invisible Tears. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast to hear all future episodes. Click into our link tree too in the episode description to find and follow us on all our social medias. And it also links to our website, invisible-tears.com, where you can keep current on any events that may be coming up, read more about Jane and the team, and read more about all the Connecticut River Valley unsolved cases. We are rebranding in our break between seasons, so even though new content won't be out for a short time, we will make sure and re-release some episodes we've done in the past to keep your feed filled. Watch our social medias for the rebrand and the launch date for season 6. Evil may exist in this world, but we will not let it win. See you next episode.